Morning.
I'm glad to see each and every one of you. Even the people that were looking at me real weirdly in worship. Say. Still love them, right? Still love everybody. It's a gift of God that we can love one another. I'm going to use a modern English translation. I was using English Standard Translation. But it doesn't really, they're really similar. Sometimes the tenses are a little different. But I'm only doing that because, unless it seems weird, then I'll go back. So, I'm going to start. And if you guys hear talking, that's my son trying to explain things, okay? Not being rude like normal. I'm just kidding, but this is the book of the generations of Adam. In the day when God created man, he made him in the likeness of God. And this was Genesis chapter 5, in case anybody didn't hear, and that was verse 1, this is verse 2. He created them male and female. He blessed them and called them mankind in the day when they were created. Adam lived 130 years and fathered a son in his own likeness after his own image and called his name Seth. There was a little note in my Bible, so I want to check what that was, but the days of Adam after he fathered Seth were 800 years, and he had other sons and daughters. So all the days that Adam lived were 930 years, and he died. Man, 930 years, huh? He must have loved everybody around him, right? Because how are you going to handle that? Just kidding. And he died. Seth lived 100. And now this is another beautiful thing I would just mention quickly, is that in the day that you eat of it, you shall surely die, God said, right? But sometimes that confuses us because Adam's like, boom, hey, I didn't die. What you talking about, Willis? You know? But then the Bible also says another part that a day is like 1,000 years to God and 1,000 years like a day. So it's crazy to me because it seems like he said you will surely die in that day, right? And then nobody seems to live past 1,000 years, right? Everybody's under that, which is a day, right? In God's eyes. I don't know if, it coincides, but I thought I'd share it with you guys for giggles. And I won't even charge anything, but you can tip on the way out. I'm just kidding. After that, Seth lived 105 years. Now, 105 years and then he died. No, 105 years and then he had a child. That's when he started having children. It's pretty crazy, right? And fathered Enosh. Seth lived after the birth of Enosh 7 years, and had other sons and daughters. So all the days of Seth were 912 years, and he died. So as far as God's concerned, he died in a day. Kenan lived 70 years and fathered Mahalalel. I don't know if that's how you say it, but if you guys know, school me, educate me.
You got what?
How to say that Mahalal guy name.
I don't know. Mine that's a different name.
Kenan lived 70 years and fathered Mahalalel. You have a different name there? What do you got?
Who are you talking about? Enoch?
Number 12. Sorry, number 12. Verse 12.
Oh.
Kenan.
Oh, you only skipped a few verses.
Did I?
Yeah.
That's why.
I was
Okay.
so confused. I was like, where did you get that name?
I was like, how am I confusing Kalani here? So where should I be, guys? What verse?
Then Seth lived
11.
800. I thought it was verse.
7?
Because you just read 10.
Yeah, but I skipped a few.
But you forgot to mention Enosh.
Oh yeah, Enosh lived. So Seth had Enosh at 105, right? Ripe childbearing age, right? 105. And then he lived longer. And then Enosh lived 90 years before he had a kid. Whew. And I was all upset when I was 28 years old and unmarried. And I was like, what is happening to me? I'm failing my whole life now. So Enosh lived after the birth of Kenan, 800. We got that. And then after that, Kenan lived 70 years and fathered Mahalalel, maybe. Mahalalel, probably, yeah. Kenan lived after the birth of that guy 840 years and had other sons and daughters. So all the days of Kenan were 910 years, and then he died. And that dude's name again, which I'm not going to keep saying because it's that guy, lived 65 years and fathered Jared. Whoa! That's a name I can say. Jared. It's nice and easy. He lived, that guy Mahalalel, lived after the birth of Jared 830 years and had other sons and daughters. So all of his days were 895 years and he died. And Jared lived 162 years and fathered Enoch. Jared lived after the birth of Enoch 800 years and had other sons and daughters. Now, Enoch is the, seventh from Adam, right? And he's the one who went to be with the Lord, right? Translated. So, we'll get to that part later because, we're reading this whole deal. Has anybody ever read a whole book in their life? It's funny because that'll happen with other books, but sometimes when you say the same thing with the Bible, it's a little different story. And it's the greatest book there ever was, right?
Amen.
It's the one that'll do more for you than any book ever could. But I can understand because we're going through things like this where we're talking about everybody's times they've been living and all that stuff, and it's like, what does this have to do with me? And how can it bless me? But I do believe that God knows better than me, better than you, right? And He puts it here for a reason. I know He knows better than me. Maybe you know better than Him. I'm just kidding. But I know He knows better than me. Enoch lived 65 years. So it's getting younger, right? So he's a young pup at 65 having his first kid. Enoch walked with God after the birth of Methuselah for 300 years and had other sons and daughters. So all the days of Enoch were 365. So it's like, what happened to that guy? Everybody else is doing 9 honeys. And he only did 365. Why? Because Enoch walked with God, verse 24. And then he was no more because God took him. So you hear at a lot of funerals and stuff, oh, God must have needed this person in heaven for some reason. I could say other things, but I don't want to single anybody out. But anyway, He doesn't take people. God doesn't take. He receives, right? He receives those. But He doesn't take. But this, and He did take. But what does that mean? He didn't have to die to be taken by God because God is life, right? So I just wanted to point that out. And if anybody has anything else they heard or believe or no? No? Okay. Yeah? No?
Some people kind of liken that to those that believe in a rapture, and and then Noah, that God rescues people out of situations.
Oh yeah.
Like Enoch, Noah.
Yeah.
Lot.
But then there's also, and that I'm not saying either way, but I do say that because that confused me for a while. I was like, God doesn't operate the same every time, I was like, He always comes through, but it may not be the way that He did last time, right? It's like with Jesus in the boat, He tells the stuff to stop. He doesn't just pluck them out of the boat or anything like that, or say, hey, I'm pulling another boat up beside that's bigger and stronger. You guys can get in that and drive the rest of the way. But instead, He just rebukes the wind and waves. It's kind of a different way. And also, but then when Jesus steps on the boat from the sea, immediately the boat's on the other side. And before that, it said they were in the middle. So He's translated that whole boat and everybody over to the side. So in that way, it seems like He's plucking them out of a problem, but they didn't really have one on that one. They were just chilling, but Jesus wasn't with them. So yeah, it's kind of like, to me, that's why I try my best not to put God in a box, right? That He's going to operate according to what I think. But I do know that He's always good. And that's why I stress that with you guys. He's always good and He's always love. So if it's good, it's God. And if it's not, it's not. But sometimes stuff doesn't look good, but He'll turn it for your good, right? That's what it also says in the Bible. And in those cases, I don't think that God brings the bad at all. But I think He turns it for our good. That's what He said, right? He didn't say, I will bring you all things. But He said every good gift is from the Father. Every perfect gift, right, is from the Father of lights. And there's no shadow of turning in Him. But He'll turn everything to your good. So there's a lot of stuff that gets turned to our good. And I sometimes think that we get confused with that. And we're like, hey, I'm so glad I went through all this trouble because this came out of it. But I think God puts everything in you, right? Everything. You're not lacking anything. So you didn't need something to bring it out. But I sometimes think it helps us because we're kind of like tea bags, they say, some people say, where the hot water brings it out. What's already in, it's not like I put it in, but yeah. And I appreciate that. Thank you. I want you guys to do that, okay? And tell me those things because, I know it's popularly believed that I know all things, but that's God. No.
I beg to differ.
So where was I? Verse 24, right? And he was not, God took him. Then 25, Methuselah lived 187 years and followed Lamech. So now this guy waited a long time. Methuselah lived after the birth of Lamech 782 years and had other sons and daughters. So all the days of Methuselah were 969 years old and he died. Lamech lived 182 years and had a son. He named his son Noah. Familiar guy, right? Saying, this one will comfort us concerning our work and the toil of our hands because of the ground which the Lord has cursed. Any thoughts on that? Why did he say that about Noah? That this one will comfort us concerning our work and the toil of our hands because of the ground which the Lord has cursed. To me, that seems like a prophecy. Just the way the Bible. Maybe about the flood. Maybe the flood helps reinvigorate the soil after being cursed, Who knows? Lamech lived after the birth of Noah 595 years and had other sons and daughters. So all the days of Lamech were 777 years and he died. Noah was 500 years old and fathered Shem, Ham, and Japheth. So he waited 500 years, but then got busy, right? He had a bunch of them right in a row, I guess. It doesn't say there was any space. I'm guessing they were not Irish. Maybe they were. Maybe they were just like 9 months, 9 months, 9 months. I don't know. Or maybe they're triplets.
Yeah.
Never even thought about that until just now. I'm trying to be funny here, right? Didn't work out for me, but at least I thought of something, right? Men's wickedness. This is Genesis 6 in verse 1. When men began to multiply on the face of the earth, daughters were born to them. The sons of God saw that the daughters of men were fair and took as wives any they chose. That one's a very controversial one. Who does it mean by the sons of God? Thought you were standing up to tell me something. And there's a lot of different theories, so I don't know if anybody wants to share anything, they can. They saw that the daughters of men were fair and took as wives any they chose. The Lord said, my spirit will not always strive with man, for he is flesh. Yet his days will be 120 years. The Nephilim were on the earth in those days, and also after that, when the sons of God came into the daughters of men, and they bore children to them. These were the mighty men who were of old, men of renown. And again, there's that term, sons of God, which people have a lot of different, I think there's 4, 5, 6 theories on what that means. And they all have their strengths and their weaknesses. I believe, my understanding. The Lord saw that the wickedness of man, this is verse 5, was great on the earth, and that every intent of the thoughts of his heart was continually only evil. Not mostly, only. The Lord was sorry that he had made man on the earth, and he grieved him in his heart. So the Lord said, I will destroy man whom I have created from the face of the earth, both man and beast, and the creeping things, and the birds of the sky. For I am sorry that I have made them. But Noah found grace in the eyes of the Lord. These are the generations of Noah. Noah was a just man and blameless among his contemporaries, and Noah walked with God. Noah had 3 sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth. The earth was corrupt before God and filled with violence. Now I want you guys to see some things here. God is just, right? So that's the first thing I want to say. And I think you guys know that, but he's the one who defines justice, right? So, God saw the earth, and behold, it was corrupt, for all flesh had corrupted their way on the earth. So God said to Noah, the end of all flesh has come before me, for the earth is filled with violence because of them. Behold, I will destroy them with the earth. Make an ark of cypress wood for yourself. Make rooms in the ark, and cover it inside and out with pitch, and this is how you must make it. The length of the ark will be 300 cubits, The width of it 50 cubits and the height of it 30 cubits. Make an opening 1 cubit below the top of the ark all around, and you will set the door of the ark on the side. Make it with the lower, a second, and a third story. For behold, I will bring a flood of waters on the earth to destroy all flesh, wherever there is the breath of life under heaven, and everything that is on the earth will die. I will establish my covenant with you. You must go. Did you have something to say?
Well, I'm sorry, I'm a little late, but I just wanted to point out that I had to look up the definition of just or justice, and it just means, when it says God is just, it means he makes things right.
That's very important. And he also says in other parts, not his will that anyone should perish, right? You and your sons, your wife, and your sons' wives with you, bring every living thing of all flesh, 2 of every kind, into the ark, to keep them alive with you. They shall be male and female, 2 of every kind of bird, of every kind of animal, and every creeping thing on the earth will come to you to be kept alive. Also, take with you of every kind of food that is eaten, and gather it to yourself, and it will be food for you and for them. Noah did this, he did all that God commanded him. And today I'm going to go a little further. We'll go into 7, unless somebody has to really leave right now. Because I want us to see something, and plus, it's not that it hasn't been that long, right? Genesis 7:1. The Lord said to Noah, go into the ark, you and your entire household, for I have seen that you alone are righteous before me in this generation. Take with you 7 each of every clean animal, and male and female, its male and female, and 2 of every unclean animal, the male and its female, and 7 each of birds of the air, the male and female, to keep offspring alive on the face of all the earth. In 7 days I will cause it to rain on the earth for 40 days and 40 nights, and every living thing that I have made I will destroy from the face of the earth. And Noah did according to all that the Lord commanded him. Noah was 600 years old when the floodwaters came upon the earth, and Noah went with his sons and his wife and his sons' wives into the ark because of the floodwaters. Everything that creeps on the land, from clean and unclean animals and birds, came in 2 by 2, male and female, to Noah into the ark as God commanded Noah. After 7 days, the waters of the flood were on the earth. In the 600th year of Noah's life, in the 2nd month, on the 7th day of the month, the same day, all the fountains of the great deep burst open, and floodgates of heavens were opened. The rain fell upon the earth 40 days and 40 nights. Now, where did I miss? Or does it come later and it's just like out of chronological order? Because the part about him speaking to them for so many years and nobody cares. Oh, I meant Noah. And I put Moses.
Oh, you mean when Noah was, people were asking him about why he was doing what he was doing?
Yeah, is that later? Yeah, it goes back. We go back around to the flood again in Genesis 6. So it's like, so anyway, we'll get to that in there. So the part that I was jumping ahead to get to is not here anyway, but we'll finish it up. I want you guys to prepare your heart, okay? I say that because, it's the same word that's thrown on the ground, right? In the parable. But what was the difference? The condition of the heart's ready to receive them, right? So that's why we a lot of times pray before we have church and stuff, because we want to get our hearts, we want to have open hearts to what God has said to us. I know in my past, I've heard somebody speaking in a certain person that maybe I don't think he's the greatest in some way or another. So I think I cannot receive anything from him. You know, and that's what they did to Jesus. The Bible says that they didn't respect his word in his hometown, right? So I'm only saying that to you guys to say, hey, if we're reading stuff in the Bible that do you think maybe, what does this have to do with me? How can it apply to me? Trust in God, right? He's able to speak to you through anything, and anything is possible, friend. And maybe sometimes I'll be talking and saying these verses and something totally crazy is going on in your mind that's different, but God is ministering to you, and let that happen. You don't have to be guilty and say, I'm not listening to anybody right now when I should be. Let God minister to you on your heart right now, right here where you are. He's always available, okay? I just want to stress that. So Noah went into the ark because of the flood waters. Otherwise, he was going to get really wet, right? Everything that creeps on the land, from clean and unclean animals and birds, came in 2 by 2, male and female, to Noah into the ark, as God had commanded Noah. After 7 days, the waters of the flood were on the earth in the 600th year of Noah's life. In the 2nd month, on the 17th day of the month, the same day, all the fountains of the great deep burst open, and the floodgates of the heavens were opened. The rain fell upon the earth for 40 days and 40 nights. On the very same day, did I skip something? No? You need to say something? On the very same day, Noah and the sons of Noah, Shem, Ham, and Japheth, and Noah's wife, and the 3 wives of his sons with them, entered the ark. They and every wild animal, according to its kind, and all the livestock according to their kind, and every creeping thing that creeps on the earth according to its kind, every bird according to its kind, every bird of every sort, went with Noah into the ark 2 by 2 of all flesh, in which was the breath of life. So they went in, male and female, of all flesh, just as God had commanded him. Then the Lord shut him in. You guys probably have seen stuff about that, right? Like memes and all that stuff. Because he didn't even shut the door. The Lord shut him in and sealed it, right? Because the door, to protect him. So a lot of people talk about that because of how good the Lord is, how good his protection and provision over our lives is. And how he doesn't save you to set you up for future failure. You know what I mean? He saves you. And a lot of people use that for, hey, if he was with you then, he'll be with you now. If he got you through then, he'll get you through now. Right? He doesn't change. And he definitely doesn't change his mind about his love for you. He loved you before you even knew what love was. The Lord shut him in. Then the flood was on the earth 40 days, and the water increased and lifted up the ark, so that it rose up above the earth. The water prevailed and increased upon the earth greatly, and the ark floated on the surface of the water. The water prevailed exceedingly on the earth, and all the high mountains that were under the whole heaven were covered. The waters prevailed upward, and the mountains were covered 15 cubits deep, which is like 23 feet deep. Okay, guys, that's 23 feet deep. All flesh that moved on the earth died, birds and livestock and beasts and every creeping thing that crept upon the earth, and every man, all in whose nostrils was the breath of life. All that was on the dry land died. So he blotted out every living thing which was on the face of the ground, both man and animals, and the creeping things and the birds of the heavens. I like how he says all those, and this is just because God knows everything, right? And sometimes people try to go back and say, oh, he was wrong right here. All those with nostrils, right? All those whose nostrils was the breath of life, but then he goes on to say all those on dry land, because then people would say, hey, what about the creatures that breathe air under the sea with that are mammals or whatever. But he's saying, then he adds dry land so that they can know too that, So he blotted out every living thing which was on the face of the ground, both man and animals, and the creeping things, and the birds of the heavens. They were blotted out from the earth, and only Noah and those who were with him in the ark remained alive. The waters prevailed on the earth for 150 days. So next time we come back, we'll be in Genesis 1. And we will go over a little more of the stuff that happened up to the flood, because there's some cool stuff, I think, that happened, and really characterization of God that you may have missed during this part, but that you'll see later, and I think is really good and awesome and cool. We're all,
I just want to say, that's why it's a good thing to read the whole Bible.
Amen.
But there's some things in different books that stands out later on as you read through the Bible. There were 40 days and 40 nights on the ark, right? And somebody else was somewhere 40 days and 40 nights.
Oh,
And so numbers is very important when you're reading God's word, you know, like 6. We're created on the 6th day. So man's number is number 6. So that's why you need to read Genesis to Revelation. It gives you a better understanding what God's trying to tell us. Not only what he's trying to tell us, who he is, what he's trying to tell us, and what should we be doing. That's very important. And you only get that, well, not only, but there's other ways. In the book of James says, just ask. So if you're falling behind, just ask God and he'll like get you going in the right direction. But it's so important to read the whole Bible. And not just once, multiple times. Because the more you read it, you know, there's a version of the Bible, and it's called the Living Word, right? There's that version. And I used to read that, but then I didn't feel that. But just the words itself, the living word. God's word is always living. It never dies. And there's life in there. And every time we complete the whole Bible, our life changed constantly because of the living word.
a living word sharper than any two-edged sword. I remember being counseled before that I was swinging around a double-edged sword like a maniac and hurting people, you know? Because sometimes the truth, especially the way you deliver it, could be painful to the people. But you can still give them the truth of Jesus Christ, right? But maybe you don't have to give them a bunch of truth that's not necessary for them to get to where they need to go. Like if I tell somebody, hey, Jesus is the answer to all your problems, or I could spend time telling them all the problems I see. They're both truenesses, kind of, right? In reality, the problems I see aren't the truth because Jesus has already paid for all those. But I could think that way, and a lot of people have come to me to give me choice words of wisdom and their 2 cents, and to say, things about me which I don't believe are true, but I could correct things, right? I could give it over to the Lord if they see something and I need to give it over to the Lord, which I do, I hope. And if I don't, I'll continue, right? All right, I love you guys. Oh, John, what's it?
No,
Okay.
I just want to criticize you.
Oh,
No,
I'm ready. I already got I'm ready to go if you guys want to criticize me.
bulletproof vest.
Yeah. Try to do it in comments better because that way I won't read them. I'm just kidding. All right. I love you guys. Thank you for being here and have a great Sunday. Oh.